and cheaper. A lot of people probably have large Pyrex mixing bowls at their house, clear glass Pyrex mixing bowl. The author of this book, she does hers exclusively in bowls, and she prefers them because they have a wider top area to provide more respiration for the SCOBY itself, so it can like breathe and do its thing. And when you cover this, any cover that came with the thing, just pretty much toss it. What you want to cover it with is any kind of clean cloth. You can use an old t-shirt or whatever you have. I like to use dish towels, and you cover it over with that. Definitely don't use cheesecloth. But what this will do, it will allow it to breathe. The cheesecloth allows in fruit flies. The one thing with kombucha, because it is fermenting and it has that vinegary odor to it, it will draw fruit flies like crazy.
But it's in the fridge.
Huh?
It's in the fridge.
No, it's not in the
That's only
fridge.
if you want.
Only when you're on vacation.
Oh.
When you're culturing regularly, it will attract fruit flies. So that helps keep them out, and it also helps keep dust and mold spores and whatnot from settling in on it. So you want to keep it covered like that, and also just use large rubber band or several rubber bands, tied together if you don't have that, and just secure it really tightly like that, and that allows it to breathe and keeps it protected. And you can also, some people also use that to strain their finished tea, but I like to just go with the tea right there. Cool. Okay, so now we're gonna do it just like this is how we do it every 10 to 14 days, and we do it ourselves at home. We remove the mother and place it in a separate container. Now this is plastic, but it's only gonna be in there for a few minutes, so I'm not worried about that.
And that's the same one you've had for a year.
Well, it's the same culture actually. It's sometimes if we see the bottom one's getting a little funky looking, we'll chuck it and go with the top one. So, but it is the same culture that we started with. We haven't got a fresh culture since. We just keep throwing it on. And to this, we're just going to pour in some of the finished tea itself, and that'll help get it situated. Much like when you raise tropical fish, they say reserve a little of the original tank water. But with this, it has all the organic acids and cultures that help sustain it. So you want to save a little bit of that for it to get going again. And the rest of this is finished tea. And you could drink it as it is right now. But what you want to do is strain it off. And I'm just going to strain it in this pitcher here. Wow. And for long-term storage, I'm just doing this for demonstration purposes. But for long-term storage, you do want to put it in glass. You don't want to have it in plastic for any length of time because it's going to be absorbing anything, all that nastiness from it and leaching chemicals right out of the plastic.
I can smell the yeast.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Wow. And we strained it off just for get any strands of culture that might be in there, a little texture in your tea. And from there, we just bottle it up. You can take this just like it is, pour it into a glass container with just a sealed top and pop it in your fridge and just pour it from there and consume it like that. But we like to go for the effect that you get from the bottled kombucha you get in the stores, which is that carbonation, it has really good effervescence. I like that. So what we'll do is after it's been brewed, we'll bottle it up and let it undergo a second fermentation in a sealed container. So that forces all the carbonation that would have just fizzled out through the open air into the beverage itself, and that gives it its fizziness. And what we do is we just recycle the kombucha bottles from the ones we get in the store. So we look at it like every time we buy another kombucha, we got another bottle to use. I feel like a mad scientist with these gloves on.
Should do the white coat.
I know, right?
So how long do you have to store it in order for it to become carbonated? Like when can you start drinking it?
I would go for we shoot for like 5 days. On like the 4th or 5th day, we'll take one of the bottles out and pop it open and see if it's got fizziness going to it.
So you can't drink that now?
Oh, you can totally drink it now.
Interesting.
Yeah.
At room temperature, you're saying?
This what am I gonna say? This batch right here has gone a little longer, so it's gonna be a little stronger. It's gonna be a little vinegary.
That's pretty tasty, man.
You like it?
Yeah.
Nice. This one actually did get let go a little bit longer than the usual time because I want to make sure we had it ready to do for the class. So it is a little bit more pungent than usual. And if you brew it at just like a day below the original like harvest date, say if it's supposed to be 14 days, you take it out on like the 12th or 13th day, it's going to still have a little bit of the sugars left over from the brewing process. And so you will end up with a sweeter beverage. So if you want to go for that taste, especially for people who are just getting into it, might not be used to the taste of finished kombucha, which is a little bit vinegary, to say the least, you could do it like that, and it'll give you a mild version. Or let it go longer, and if you let it go way too long and it's like, ugh, stuff's really pungent, you could take that and use that as a replacement for vinegar in salad dressings. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not like, doesn't taste like vinegar, like, you know, swinging the thing of Bragg's little liquid
No.
apple, you know, stuff. It tastes like fermented tea with a little hint of vinegar.
Yeah.
So when you buy the bottles and it has the bacteria in the bottom,
Mhm.
is that by chance or do they actually design? I mean, do they want you to get a piece of that?
Well, it's actually that little like floaty you got going on in there. That's actually a result of the kombucha trying to do its thing in the bottle. It will actually it'll replicate itself from the cultures in the tea itself. So some people have successfully taken the bottled product and poured it in a container and treated it as though they were going to grow a culture, and that has grown a kombucha SCOBY for them.
So the bigger the culture in the bottle when you buy it, does that kind of indicate how long that's been sitting there?
It could
Does that
be.
make sense?
It does make sense, but at that point, once it's gotten to a certain degree of carbonation in there, it's gonna eventually die off, that main culture. So then it'll just sink down in there, and you're left with that like kombucha hooker, I call it. It's kind of gross. I always spit that thing out, but some people eat them. Yeah, it's perfectly okay to eat it, but it's not my thing. I don't like that texture.
Is it healthy to eat it? I force myself to eat it.
Oh, you do?
I just close my eyes and do it.
Some people
Is
say.
it healthy? Is there benefits in it?
Some people say there are. You know, I don't know if it's anecdotal or not. But the authors of this book, they say, you know, it's definitely not going to hurt you. But they can't determine whether it does give you more benefits than just drinking the straight up tea. They recommend you just go with the tea. So you might not have to go through that.